Western philosophy offers a very individualistic, a very atomized view of our place in the world. The mind is seen as being separate and distinct from the body. The body is seen as separate and distinct from our environment. And our environment is seen as being made out of countless entities that are in fact separate and distinct from one another. This is why the French philosopher Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am." He was stating in no unequivocal terms that it is our thoughts and our minds, nothing else, that makes us who we are. However, this is incorrect. In Buddhism, we are taught that there is no separation between our mind, our body, the environment, and the objects we find in our environment. Now, of course, this does not mean that everything is the same. My mind is obviously different from my body. My body is obviously different from the environment, from the walls and the windows around me. However, all of these entities are interconnected and interdependent upon one another, and we must understand how that relationship works if we want to end suffering for ourselves and others. To understand how this works exactly, we can think of a tree. Now, on that tree, we have leaves, we have branches, we have a tree trunk, and at the bottom, we have tree roots dug deeply into the soil. Now, our minds divide that object up, leaf, branch, trunk, roots, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a perfectly normal, acceptable way to make our world more understandable by chopping it up into bite-sized pieces. But the good gardener understands that if he wants the leaves on his tree to be healthy, he has to take care of the branches and the trunk, ensuring that they're not injured or damaged in any way. And by extension, if he wants the trunk and the branches to be healthy, he must take care of the roots. So what we have when we look at a tree is a singular entity that we, through the power of our minds, have chopped up into individual parts. And we must understand the relationship between those parts if we want all of them to be healthy. Now, this is true of trees, but it's also true of us as well. Our minds, we can think of as the leaves, our bodies are the trunk and the branches, and the environment is the roots. Now, what makes it difficult for us as human beings, much less spiritual practitioners, is that our mind is the one part of the equation that we cannot affect directly. Meaning we can't grab onto our minds and make them do what we want. If you don't believe me, well, think of the last time you were angry, truly frustrated with life, and someone told you, calm down. How'd that go? Or think about the last time you were heartbroken over the end of a relationship or experiencing terrible grief. You had these hard to deal with emotions, and yet you weren't able to turn them off in the way you would a light switch in a room. In order to affect our minds, we have to influence them by affecting our bodies and our environment. This is why when you go to a Buddhist temple, there are so many rules about what you're allowed to wear and how you stand and how you sit and how you organize your oryoki bowls during meals. It's also why during every Buddhist retreat, there's a period of time where participants are expected to help with the cleaning. We sweep the floors, we wash the dishes, we clean the windows. If there's a garden, we might pull the weeds. That's not just us providing free labor. That's us affecting our minds by affecting our body and our environment. Because if our environment is chaotic, our minds will be chaotic. If our bodies are suffering, our minds will suffer. So, what does this have to do with cleaning toilets and by extension, cleaning our minds? Well, you may be a few steps ahead of me, but if not, we'll get there. Essentially, if we are struggling in our minds, if there are lots of thoughts, lots of feelings that we're not enjoying that are causing us suffering, one of the most effective things we can do is just clean up our environment. Sweep the floors, wash the dishes, clean the toilet. Now, I'm not saying that cleaning in and of itself will solve all of our problems. Maybe it will if a dirty house is the reason we were suffering. But what it does is create an environment that's conducive to a calm, stable mind. Remember, a chaotic environment leads to a chaotic mind. A clean, organized environment leads to a clean, organized mind. A mind that is better able to think creatively and work to solve the problem that we're dealing with. Now, of course, that begs the question, why did I pick a toilet specifically to clean? And to be fair, it doesn't need to be a toilet. I picked that, however, because in my experience, cleaning the toilet is the one thing nobody wants to do. It's hard. It's unpleasant. You have to get down on your hands and knees. You have to smell things sometimes. There might be stains that are a little embarrassing. But if we do that hard, unpleasant thing, a couple of things happen. First, there's a great feeling of satisfaction that comes from completing a task, solving a problem. Secondly, what's better than sitting on a clean toilet when you need to do your business? So it makes our lives more pleasant in the short term. It's by giving us that sense of satisfaction, by giving us a problem that we can solve. Once again, our minds become more calm and more stable, and we are better able to work on the other problems we have in daily life. So, next time you're feeling greed, anger, ignorance, next time you suffer from heartbreak or grief, go clean the toilet. It won't solve all of the problems you have, but there will be one less problem for you to deal with. And that small thing you've accomplished might give you the momentum needed to accomplish other things for yourself and others. Amitabha.